You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box. You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box. You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. We're actually not live, but we're back. The Hot Take Hot Box. My name is Matt McSweeney. We have a lot to talk about. It has been a few months, it seems. I think it's definitely been a few months. Got myself a new phone, so I need to go order some new equipment, and now it has all arrived. I don't know how we'll sound. I think we're probably going to sound better, but maybe not. You probably listen and you're like, I can't tell the difference. It's all right, man. Did it for my own self. My name is Matt McSweeney. I'm joined by the Ty Capone, who has survived 65 hurricanes this season in St. Petersburg. Yeah, there's another one coming?
Yep. Next week.
Oh, God.
So that's good.
It never ends, man. You know, the perks and the cons of living in one of the more beautiful places on earth. St. Petersburg. I'm not going to disrespect it by calling it the Pete. It is St. Petersburg. Pete's, right. There's multiple Pete's in the burg. And, yeah, listen, our Eagles, Ty, I think we were probably putting them to bed last time on this podcast. So I think we've fired Sirianni a million times on here, and now the Eagles are 7-2, rolling into a home game against the Commanders tomorrow night. As we record this, you guys will probably hear this the night of the game, so very jacked up. We're going to get into that. The Sixers, I don't think you could, other than maybe the stadium exploding. I don't think you could have thought of a worse start to the season than the one they've gotten so far. We have some Phillies the hot stove. The stove is starting to heat up a little bit. As there's some rumors floating around. Alec Bohm, who could his replacement be? They're already trying to ship him out of town. Soto, where's he gonna go? Doesn't seem like it's gonna be Philadelphia. Your Dodgers are the World Series champions. Woo! Pulling out miracle after miracle. I'm just so glad they beat the Mets
and the Yankees. Beating both New York teams en route to a World Series is so satisfying for somebody that grew up in Jersey. I love it.
Because for anyone who lives around here or knows any people, especially people that live here and are New York fans, they are some of the most miserable, worst human beings on earth. Shout out to you, Camp, if you're listening. I love you, buddy. Shout out to Camp. But
do love Camp.
Do we all? Of course. How could you not? We are going to first kick off, though, Ty, with our Philadelphia Eagles, who there's so much you could really talk about. This past week, they go take care of business against the Cowboys, who they are not the Cowboys that maybe of a couple years ago. They have fallen on some hard times. Jerry's out there saying, I'm not going to put any curtains up. And you know where the sun's going to be at least a year in advance when you do the coin toss. Come on, man. It's just there's a lot of nonsense going on up there, which I'm just glad that we don't have to worry about. Dak's hurt. What is their record? I think they're 3-6 now. Yeah, they're in giant territory now, so it doesn't seem like a great start to the season. It's probably just the season's over pretty much already with Dak being out.
0-4 at home.
0-4 at home. Yeah, there's a lot of drama. They don't, Zeke's getting suspended, but we're not a Cowboy podcast.
Zeke's still playing. Dalvin Cook, they have him on the team.
Yeah, the corpse of Dalvin Cook is running around out there. The Eagles just dominated them, and that's to be expected. Though that's not a good team. The Eagles dominated the Giants. That's to be expected. Pretty much ever since that Buccaneer game where all their guys were hurt. Smitty was out, A.J. Brown was out. They came back. The Browns game is where Sirianni got into it with some of the fans, and then but essentially
then he cut his hair.
But since then, Ty, that was essentially the rallying cry. It seemed like the players really got behind him and kind of were like, this is our coach. We're gonna ride or die with him, and then they came out the next weekend, just pounded the Giants 28-3. Wasn't even close. Guys were sitting midway through the fourth quarter. The Bengals was a close game going, and then the second half they just took off. A beautiful dot from Jalen Hurts in that game. Eagles should have blown out the Jaguars, and I know there was a lot of talk around here about how they kind of took their foot off the pedal. I think that was a lot to do with just circumstance and the horrible call on them not overturning that fumble, which I still don't understand how the Saquon Barkley
still confused about it.
Yeah, because he bumped into a guy and then he kept him up and then he fell. I was like, he still got
trying to understand it. if it was continuation, kind of like an NBA. But I was hearing Gene Steratore explain it, and it made sense. When I saw it, I thought it. I was like, honestly, I feel like whoever you hit last, like, should determine, who, if you're down by contact or not. And he hit his own guy, so I was like, it seems weird, but I feel like that's the right call. I mean, I know he hit. I don't know if it was not Miles Jack, Devin Lloyd, or whoever the linebacker was, but it didn't seem like that's what contributed to him tripping. But maybe it did. Maybe it was the beginning. I honestly, I got absolutely ratioed to death by Eagles Twitter.
Yeah.
When I was like, sadly, that's a good call. Everyone's like, no, the fuck, it's not. I'm like, all right, well, I guess not.
Well, he
I just don't know the rule.
tweeted that right as it happened, so people
right
were
as
to
it
snap
happened.
on you. Yeah, they had a couple Miller Lights in them, and they said, "Listen, pal, you're a moron." You're like, "All right, my bad."
I was like, listen, I just didn't see him trip or stumble at all until he hit Lane Dickerson. Landon
That would be one hell of a player, dude. Lane Dickerson.
That would be a good player because Landon Dickerson has been a little. He's been probably the worst of the O line, but that O line in general is just fucking anchors.
Yeah, it's been.
Even when you fill guys in like Fred Johnson and Jordan Mailata.
Yeah.
Jordan Mailata. I'm struggling here. Jordan Mailata. No, not him, but Tyler Steen, Mekhi Becton. They kind of had like a nice little rotation of 7-8 guys, and they're all playing well. So.
Which is not a shocker, but just a little bit of a positive change from what they're used to. I mean, last year there was points where you put guys in, you're like, oh man, and we're not old enough, or we are old enough to remember Jerron Brown, who was taking pictures with Lamar Jackson after the game, and, asking for autographs and things of that nature. But that has all led them to being a 7-2 team, being one of the best teams in the NFL, one of the best records in the NFC. I believe this is the second best record in the NFC, right behind the Lions, who had a quarterback who threw 5 interceptions on Sunday night, which amazing that they were still able to win that game. Ty, how overall, though, I guess we can kind of just speak in generalities before we get into the Commanders game. How do you feel? Like, do you have a better feel about the Eagles in general? I'll tell you that I personally believe in them more than I guess maybe even last year. Because last year I think we were all kind of, I mean, especially here on the pod, we were like, oh, they keep winning and everything, but it didn't look good. They weren't really playing the brand of football. The offense didn't look good. We didn't like anything about it. Now, I'm not in love with their offense now, but at least they've gotten back to really what has made them successful in 22 and where you can get the most out of Jalen Hurts' skill set, which is the offense has to be run first, run heavy. Base it all off of that. Then you can get the play action. Then you can get people, 6, 7 in the box, and then start to use your wide receivers on the outside and pick them apart. I like that they're using the middle of the field a little bit more, a little more often. Dallas Goedert's now back. I feel much better than I have probably since they were on the run to the Super Bowl. How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for. I don't even know if it's this week, but that Ravens game will be really telling. It's not probably a game that you would expect them to win because that's a difficult game going to Baltimore, and you're sandwiched between playing home against a really bad Panthers team and going to LA to play the Rams on Sunday night. So, and that's after a Thursday night game on a short week at home. I wouldn't be surprised if this game was kind of just like a ugly, slug it out affair. I think the Commanders lost last week, correct, to Pittsburgh in a just like a weirdish game. Yeah. Jaden Daniels didn't really do much. They didn't really run the ball well. And Russell Wilson's he's back. Let Russ cook, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Pav. They only had 240
George Pickens, man. He finally has somebody to throw him the ball.
So, and even the Giants game, the Commanders didn't look great, and then the Bears game, they shouldn't have won.
No.
So they're kind of, I think they're a bit of a fraudulent 7-3, and whether we're a fraudulent 7-2, I don't think that's necessarily the case, but I do need to see a little bit more. I mean, we played 4 bad teams and we beat them. We treated them like bad teams. That's good. That's what good teams do, right? They beat the shit out of bad teams. So that's good. We're relatively healthy. I think Mailata could play tonight or this week. I'm not sure. I wouldn't even be mad if he sat out. It's a short week.
I'd imagine he sits tomorrow and then is ready for the next game. But that would probably. I mean, if he's healthy, then let him play. But I would think, since you are on the short week, you get the extra 10 days to get him ready for next weekend. It's more about the long haul than it is maybe just this one game.
So I don't know. I mean, it hurts his play. He's not turning the ball over. I wouldn't say he's necessarily playing that well in general. I think he's missing some layups. I think he's um, kind of not really going through his reads. I think it's kind of just a lot of um, the same things on offense, just kind of throwing it up to Devontae, throwing it up to AJ. And I mean, just a lot of low risk, low probability throws. But since we have so many playmakers on this offense, it works. And it sounds kind of obvious, but you have to play through your stars. You can't give the ball to Kenny Gainwell in 3rd and 2 or any kind of money down. Hate when that happens. And you need AJ and Devontae to stay healthy. Johnny Wilson, seeing him score a touchdown, that was nice to see somebody else do something, right? Jahan Dotson made that amazing catch. I don't know if it was against the Jags or the Bengals.
I think it was the Bengals, but I'm not sure.
I think it was the Bengals, yeah. He made that crazy-ass catch downfield. But other than that, he's just been invisible. Britton Covey's still hurt. Dallas Goedert's been in and out of the lineup. So, Calcaterra's been decent, but he's one of the worst blocking tight ends. So, behind your 3 stars, you don't have much else. Not that other teams really go like 6 deep, but it's good that we're going through them, playing through them. It's good that Jalen's not necessarily turning it over, even though against the Cowboys, obviously.
He reverted back a little bit, but yeah.
A little bit. The pick was a great play by Diggs, I'll say, but still, we're not going over the field as much, a little bit more lately. I like that we're going back to using some motion, using some play action. Shit like that is huge for this offense, or else it's just very basic. I feel like I haven't seen as many slants, so I think the offense is getting a little more creative and just doing what they can do. And then the defense, it's really about the defense. The defense has been awesome. I think since week 6, they're first in EPA per dropback. They're first in success rate per dropback. They're first in explosive pass rate. So the pass rush is improving a little bit. We see Bryce Huff finally did something, right?
Yeah.
With a cast on his wrist. So I don't know how he got hurt, but he got hurt in warm-ups somehow. Milton Williams is starting to do a little bit more. Jalen, the D-line in general, you're seeing random guys get in there. Jalen Hunt's playing more. Zach Bond has been probably the best, one of the best players on this team, and that I believe that was a Vic Fangio signing. So all credit to Vic. He's also changing positions, and he looks like one of the best linebackers in football. Nakobe Dean has been a lot better. So everyone's just getting better. And honestly, for me, it started when you took that bum 29 off the field. As soon as he came off the field, now he doesn't even play. I think he played 1 snap 2 weeks ago, and he got a penalty.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, take him off the field. Stop putting him on. When you have Cooper DeJean out there, I mean, he's quick instincts. That draft of ours is already looking like an A++ with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. 2 great moves, 2 great players. These guys are playing well together. We haven't even had Slay, and I think Slay's still maybe not in his prime, but he's another quality corner. He can make plays.
Still got something to offer you.
Absolutely. Maybe he'll give up a touchdown or a flag, but playing cornerback is not easy. So I also, did you know that we had James Bradbury? He's still on the team technically.
Yeah. He was on IR, right?
Insane. Yeah, he somehow got hurt after we decided to not cut him.
Yep.
So maybe he comes back and he's good. No, probably not. I mean, honestly, the only downside of this secondary defense, really, well, I guess secondary mainly, has been CJ Gardner-Johnson. He's just been terrible, I think. He's made some plays for sure. He will make plays. He'll come up in the run game and make a big hit on 4th down, or I don't even know how many picks he has, but usually he'll get a nice little game-winning pick. That's been Blankenship this year, kind of making those kind of plays. So in general, it's been a very good unit, and I worry about them against like in a just shoot 'em out game against a high-power offense like the Ravens. If our offense can keep up, if our defense can limit some of those points, but I guess we'll see, man. They're playing really well. I don't think Jamar Chase did shit against us, right? So
not really. He just caught the one in the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
the touchdown.
Yeah, when he was on Nolan Smith.
Yeah.
So mismatch there, and that was a good play by them. I don't know why he was out there, but
they shifted him all the way over, and there was nobody on that side. You saw Nolan Smith just panic when you saw him. Didn't they put him in the backfield or something, and then he came out?
Yeah, they ran him through. Yeah. They just motioned him out.
I was like, that's a hell of a play, because that's just, who would expect something like that? You probably won't see shit like that on film, and then the game happens, and you're like, oh, god damn it, bro! Like, we weren't ready for that shit. But that's kind of the battle of the the NFL week in and week out. To pretty much answer your question, I do feel better. I will say I will feel better. I think the NFC
not being that good helps.
Yeah.
I'm like, I look at other teams compared to us. I'm like, who am I really scared of? We'll see how we do against Washington this week. But division games are tough, right? I wouldn't declare the season over with a loss unless we got just smoked by a team who's kind of struggling to move the ball. Brian Robinson's back, but I don't anticipate they'll run the ball against us very well. Jaden, I think this might be part of the season where the rookie wall hits. And then you look at Detroit. Sure, that's a good team. I think they have some weaknesses on defense, but I think that's a very solid team. And also, you pressure Goff. I'm not really scared of him necessarily, but definitely a good team. Minnesota starting to come back to their life.
Yeah.
Still a pretty solid team. Green Bay's decent. We already beat Green Bay. You look at the NFC South and NFC West, just absolute terrible. I know the Bucs just own us historically, so there's nothing really to be said there. I think the Falcons as well do, but those teams are not that good. Arizona and San Fran. San Fran's absolutely beat up and depleted. The Rams look decent. Arizona
I do still
decent.
worry about them though, San Fran, just because that.
But will they ever be healthy? Probably not.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, no Ayuk, so he's definitely gone for the year. And then McCaffrey
Debo Samuel's
like
punching the long snapper.
that was insane. I don't understand how that's allowed. They're like, oh, he's just competitive. I'm like, no, he's just acting like a fucking asshole.
That's crazy. He's going after the long snapper of all. He's like, who's the lowest on the totem pole in my head?
Well, I mean, the kicker did miss 3 field goals. I could understand.
Jake Moody did miss.
Upsetting, but I think you're directing your anger in the wrong direction. I think you're right though. Like the Vikings, they're going to come back to earth. They seem very fraudulent.
Darnold's starting to throw some picks.
Packers are still out there, but we beat them, and I'm not worried about the Packers, the Vikings. The team that I only worry about is the Lions and a little bit of the 49ers, just because of the history there and the ass whooping that they handed out to us last year. Even though they are not healthy right now, I always worry about teams just miraculously getting healthy. And I'll never forget how many people were in our comments last year after we told them that we were going to spank them, and then they spanked us. And I saw a lot of bang, bang, Niner gang. It was the most viewed video I think I've ever had on YouTube. Shout out to all my Niners fans out there who apparently come in and hate listen from time to time. Always greatly appreciated. But Ty, I guess it would be time now for predictions. We could sit and try to break the X's and O's down, pull go baldy here, and just I think like you said, you made mention of. I think Jaden Daniels is due for a little bit of a regression back to the mean. Not to say that he stinks or anything like that, but it's just he's kind of been playing out of his mind, and the Commanders have been overachieving to a max amount, and that's a lot of credit to Dan Quinn, who's really came in there, turned it around. I see Josh Harris out on the sidelines from time to time, kind of disgusting,
Love
it. Listen, I think the Eagles will do a good job of making sure that he doesn't kill them. That being Jaden Daniels. And I don't think a team has really had a lot of success running the ball on us in quite some time. Am I wrong in that assessment? I mean, we haven't really played a lot of, like a prolific rushing offenses. But I think if we can slow down the rushing, just in general, of Brian Robinson, shout out to Austin, the corpse of Austin Eckler, out there scoring touchdowns still. I think we will have. I'm not really worried about the Commanders because I just don't think that they're that. I don't believe in them. I still think they're frauds. They probably are saying the same thing on the other side. This could ultimately be declared the battle of who's fraudulent and who's not. Because whoever loses this game, no matter how good it is, no matter how well they play, Friday morning, what are they all going to talk about on Get Up and all them? They're going to say, well, did we overestimate how good the Eagles are? Did we overestimate how good the Commanders are? Or are they frauds? Do we believe in them? It'll be all that nonsense. But I think the Eagles get it done. I think Saquon has a big game. I think that the Eagles, think there's too many weapons and too many ways for their offense to beat you. And then, like you made mention of how good their defense has been, stands, opposite of Jordan, or, without Jordan Davis, because Jordan Davis has really not given you much, and he's kind of turned in. I'm almost ready to declare him a bust. He has not been anything of what we thought he could be. The defensive line is getting better pressure. Our boy Josh Sweat, maybe I might have to write a written apology out for him. He has a little, he's played a little bit better, but I guess it's not even really just the pressure. It's more of just the overall the coverage The secondary, we talked about before the season, has been great. You made mention of Zach Bohm. I just like this Eagles team. I really do, and I like the way they're playing. They're playing with fire. The coordinators have been huge. Sirianni has kind of gotten out of the way for the most part, other than what was this past week or last week when he was. Hey, did you hear the thing when he was asked about the why Jalen Hurts was out with rest? He's like, yeah, he's got an ankle thing going on. They're like, wait, what? And he's like, huh? Like he pulled wait, what'd you say? And they're like,
I thought you meant somebody else.
I thought you meant someone else. What? And he's like, gotta go. And he just ran out. Then he's got to dip out of there. But Eagles win 27 to probably 21 would be my prediction. Maybe 20. It's a close game, but not that close. I think the Eagles handle it for pretty much the majority of the game.
Yeah. Bottom or top 5 in rush defense, the Eagles are, by the way.
Yep.
In rush yards per carry, touchdowns, they've only given up 2 carries of 20 or more, or 3 carries of 20 or more yards this year. The Giants 15. So
there you go.
Rough time to be a Giants guy, a Giants fan, if you will. It's been a rough time for a while.
Yeah.
And I think we get it done as well. I think we have Marshawn Lattimore's not playing. I don't know who they're going to put on A.J. Brown, who they're going to put on Devontae Smith. And
you remember what happened last
Mr.
year?
St. Juiced?
Yeah.
Mr. Benjamin St. Juiced? Yeah.
He was having a mental health crisis on the sideline after A.J. Brown was frying his ass last year.
So if that's going to be their solution, then what they should do is just blitz the shit out of Hurts. But don't think they're really they have
the capabilities.
Enough.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they have enough pass rush, really. I mean, if you look at their pass rush, also, can you really afford to do that without Marshawn Lattimore, without anybody that can kind of bail you out and give you a little bit of time to get to the quarterback? Their best pass rusher this year has been Dante Fowler Jr. He's got 31 pressures. He has 9 sacks, which is insane that Dante Fowler I think he's only 30, but it seems like he's 36, has set the clock back. They've made some good moves in the offseason. I like the offseason they had. I like the draft that they had. Dorrance Armstrong has 26 pressures. Frankie Louvu has played pretty well for them all season. So Bobby Wagner still got some juice to him. But other than that, I mean, Jeremy Chin, another one. That's somebody I kind of had interest in. Their D-line I don't think has been that good. Looking at the most snaps played, Benjamin St. Juice, he's also one of their lowest graded players.
They lost
on the
Jonathan Allen, right?
I think they lost Jonathan Allen. Cleveland Farrell, forgot they had him. That guy's been a huge bust. Daron Payne has seemingly taken a step back. So I just looking across at everybody they play. Igbenogany, the other corner, he has not been good. I mean, he's been a bust his whole career. Fidarian Mathis should have been an LSU Tiger. He was a Bama Tide rolled. He's been bad. I think we will run on them. I think this is a big Saquon Barkley game. I mean, you could say that about every game, but there's been once in a while. I think last week, he only had 66 yards. So I think this is a big Saquon Barkley game. I will say 24-17, I think.
24-17. I like that. We're both kind of in that 7-point range. I do. Yeah, I think that it's going to be a lower scoring game. I don't think maybe the Eagles go out there and drop points on them. I just know, or at least think I know that the Commanders are not going to have immense success on this defense. I really have a lot of faith in this defense. It has kind of flipped from even last year, or maybe even the offseason. Now seeing is believing. Quinyon is for. I can't talk enough about how much I love that guy, man. He has swagger. He goes out there. He clamps people up. He doesn't have a pick yet, but he's just a dog, man. I just love the way he plays. I just love the way he plays. I was about to say he gives me Asante Samuel vibes, but he's not really the same kind of player. Just maybe that's the best corner we've had since him, other than maybe Slay or something like that. But I don't like to compare people to Slay because, Slay goes on the podcast afterwards. I tell you what, man, if I was a Cowboys fan, I'd be so irate at looking at Micah Parsons chucking it up and cracking up and laughing with, the Eagles after they just, we got dog walked in our own building. And then Micah Parsons is talking shit about Mike McCarthy after the game. Everybody's having a mental breakdown. It's great. It really is.
They're beefing about the blinds, right? Yeah. CeeDee Lamb's I literally didn't catch a pass because I couldn't fucking see. And Jerry Jones is no, we're fine.
Look at the gravitational pull of the earth.
Yeah.
What? Jerry, he's
One guy.
You want me to build a whole new stadium? Like, no, we want you to put curtains up during the fucking game, dude. God damn it.
One issue I kind of have. Do you know who's third on this team in total pressures for the Eagles?
Zach Bohm.
Moro Ojomo.
Oh boy.
He's only played 195 snaps. I think he's been good, but in general, just the consistency of the pass rush is not there.
That shouldn't be a guy's name who's up there.
Shouldn't be a guy there. Nolan Smith, Milton Williams, Bryce Huff have shown. I mean, everybody's really shown flashes, but I mean, Jordan Davis has 5 pressures this year. You know, like that's less than Nakobe Dean. So almost less than Thomas Booker. So
yeah, he's one of those guys when he gets in there, you're like, who's that guy? You know, because he
Booker,
goes in and makes plays from time to time. Yeah,
IV. There's 10 of them. No, but and like we're just the pass rush is getting there, but I think really what's helping them is the secondary, is the coverage of even our linebackers. Zach Bonding coverage. I mean, this guy was an edge rusher. Now he's dropping back into coverage, playing with guys, running down the field, and making pass breakups on Evan Ingram, one of the fastest tight ends in the league. So Sidney Brown in his limited play has been good. I thought Isaiah Rodgers stepped in when Slay was out and played pretty well.
Yeah.
We haven't seen much of Keely Ringo. I think that's probably a good thing. He's very good on special teams. I'll say that. Reed Blankenship has been pretty consistent. And Q, you haven't. I mean, dude, did you see the thing that Joe Banner was like throwing shade at Quinyon Mitchell during week 4? I'm like, of all players on the team, you're going to pick on the rookie who's playing one of the hardest positions for a rookie to play. And he's been playing well, and you're going to retweet like anti-Quinyon Mitchell stuff. It was the weirdest thing ever. I was like, is Joe Banner on drugs? Like, what's he doing? What's the slant?
Joe Banner for a long time he's just like a miserable old man, kind of. It just seemed like you're right though. Like, really, what is the slant there with picking on a guy who's been like at that point of the season, especially like a shining star of the defense? It would really, a guy we haven't really mentioned though, Ty, Nakobe Dean, who's also been pretty good. There was talks before this season where it's like he might be done, and then he's not. Maybe I don't know if lived up to the hype is the right word, but like he's been he's better than Nolan Smith, I guess I could say. Like he has been a competent NFL linebacker, and he had a huge pick in the Jaguars game, saved the game.
He struggled in the first half of the year against Tampa, Cleveland, Green Bay. He was just getting picked on. And the thing with Nakobe Dean is he's undersized and he's not that athletic, right? He's a generous 5'11", and he's also, he doesn't have 4.4, 4.5 speed. So he needs to rely on his instincts. He is a thumper, though. He is a hitter. He does give you max effort, and he is smart. But if he makes – and playing linebacker is so difficult. If you make if you're one half step behind, you're out of the play almost, right? You're not maybe a 3-yard gain is now turned into a 7 or 8 yard gain. So things like that really matter. And the first couple of weeks, it just seemed like, he's playing every snap. He's still not even 24 yet. He's missed a lot of his NFL career so far due to injury.
Yeah. And
he's just getting into the swing of things. He's also playing with a guy who's a converted edge rusher at the other linebacker spot under a new defense. So there's like a lot of things going on, right? Just like when Embiid comes back, you're like, all right, let's see how he's going to play. Well, he's obviously not going to play well. Like it's his first game back into a game in the Emirates NBA Cup with a brand new team that he's never played with. So shout out to
the Crown Prince out there. We'll get to him tomorrow on the UFC podcast.
The Green Bay games, especially, he was just getting picked on, and now the last 4 weeks, counting the Giants game, his grades have shot up from orange and red to blue territory. He was, I think, he was in the 90s per PFF against Cincinnati and Jacksonville, and to do that against Cincinnati is impressive because they have a good offense, good passing offense, and Jacksonville has a really good tight end. And they, I don't think they have a good quarterback, but they have a decent options. Brian Thomas didn't do anything in that game. Also, Evan Ingram didn't really do much in that game. So to see us limit them, also, the fact that they had a chance to win in a game we almost doubled them up in passing yards or total yards.
Yeah.
Crazy. We've had some bad luck, it seems, this year.
That game was like an anomaly. I felt like it was.
Yeah.
Like
you look up, you're like, we're up 5.
Yeah, that's what it was like. I was down in South Philly watching the game, and I'm like. Same thing. The whole time I'm just chilling, and then like the fumble, and then it was just like everything that could have gone wrong kind of started to after we were up like 22-0, and I'm like, they're not going to lose this fucking game, are they? And then when they, he made some real questionable decisions in that game, which that is one of the things that could come back to kill them at some point. Is Sirianni's just, being over aggressive and then not being aggressive when he needs to. He kind of like flip flops back and forth. It's just that's a weird thing, but I still. I don't know, Ty. I just, for some reason, I still have faith in him. I just, for some reason, I think he'll find a way to make the right call and maybe just not kill us and get out of the way of this team because they've turned this around. Like it was really looking dark early on in this year, losing that Falcons game. Guys getting hurt early on in the year, and they persevered and they battled through, and now they're 7-2, one of the best teams in the NFL. So looking forward to the game tomorrow. Ty, you mentioned Joel Embiid. That is quite the segue. Had we done this 2 minutes ago, but the Philadelphia 76ers, Ty, have started off a horrendous beginning of this season. What is their record? I believe it's 2-8 now after yesterday. 2-8 as they welcome the 12-0 Cavaliers into town to take on the Jared McCains because Paul George and Joel Embiid will both sit out tonight due to injury management. Joel already pushing back on the no back-to-backs thing, saying that he would want to play and that he's ready to go, and it's not his decision, which I understand. He kind of has to say, I believe that he wants to play. I'm not saying nothing against it. There has never, in my mind, been a doubt that he's like lazy or he has ever shied away from playing. This guy has risked injury after injury and tried to come back early. And Joel Embiid, he's good in my book for the most part, in regards to that. But listen. 2-8. I hope later on in the season. I don't think they're gonna have a choice, but later on in the season they maybe let him play a couple of these back-to-backs. Paul George, I don't really understand why they're still treating him with kid gloves, because you just gave him $200 million and he's just came back from like a bone bruise, which it did look ugly, but he's on a minutes restriction, and I just don't get it. I think. I understand that the NBA, it's basically like you could trip and fall into the playoffs, so it's not really the end of the world. They're 2 games out of that 10th spot to, get into the play-in, and they are 3 games out of the 4 seed actually, 3 games out of the 4 seed. So, the overall, the Eastern Conference has been pretty bad to start this season. It's basically the Cavs, the Celtics, and then everyone else. I still, Ty, I do think that maybe not just Sixers fans, but the ownership or the front office is just kind of taking a little bit too lax of an approach with some of these decisions that they've made, acting like it's just gonna gel and come together at some point. And now Maxi's hurt. I guess I'm jumping around a little bit, but this Sixers season? Let me just get back to the center here. This Sixers season has been essentially unwatchable. And I've watched every game almost, other than I think the Raptors game I had to go back and watch, not live when he or was it the Pacers? No, it was the Pacers game where was the Pacers game was where Maxey dropped 45. That was the game I did not watch live, of course. And
when we won in overtime.
Yes, that was I believe during that was like a Sunday football thing. So I was like, I'm not.
And then we lost to the Pistons. We're like, oh, well,
yes, where right. They were just getting dog walked, and I think if anything, this early on in the season has kind of silenced some of those Maxey people out there who act like this team could be built around him, which me and you were telling people or just telling on these airwaves, hey guys, we love Maxey. Nothing, hey, he's a good player. He's a great player. He's not the kind of there's maybe 10 guys that you can build a team around and actually have a competent like playoff contending, championship contending team, and he's just not one of those guys. And it's no fault of his own. He's limited. He's a smaller guy. He's a scoring guard. He fits in perfectly next to Embiid. He'll fit in perfectly once Paul George and they're all together. It's going to look good. I really do believe that, but he's just not. He's really not that guy. I'll let you get something here, Ty, because I could keep ranting about this for a long time. How have you felt so far? 10 games in, 2-8.
Yeah, not great. Also, Maxey's, I believe, leading. Yeah, he's number 1 in the league in minutes per game. So you're taxing the fuck out of him, and now he's hurt. Yeah. Right. So I'm sure he'll be fine. But he missed what he missed like a month or 2 last year, I believe, when he had that.
It was an ankle.
He missed like 12 games or and then the year before that he only played 60. So I'm not worried about injuries with him necessarily, but he is a smaller guy and a lot of. I mean, when you don't have Paul George and Embiid, and tonight you don't have any of the 3.
Yeah.
So when you don't have Paul George and Embiid, it's such an L. And they're playing the the Cavs. So they're like,
we're 12-0, which
play.
is insane.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, there was these kids at the bar last night, and the Knicks Sixers game was on. There's 3 of them, just frat bros. One was a Knicks fan, the other 2 were Cavs fans, and they're talking about, yo, Darius Garland. Like, dude, Darius Garland's mid-pack. I'm not taking him over Tyrese Maxey. Get the fuck out of here. And then I looked at how Garland was playing this year. I was like, well, he's playing well, but he's not better than Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
And these kids were just, absolute degenerate fucks. And the one kid was a Knicks fan. He's like, I fucking hate Joel Embiid. I'm like, I'm going to smash this wine bottle over his head. And
I would hate him too if I was them, but
I was, yeah, I get it, but shut up. So, yeah, it's just been a disaster. Now, when Maxey is healthy, he's the only one on this team that can create a shot, that can dribble. Even like who do you have on this team that can reliably dribble the ball? Just handle the ball and get to a spot, create a shot, get to the hoop. It's just really Maxey
and Paul George, Paul George, yeah,
a little Paul George, Jeremy Kane. And that's it. And the fact that you're making a 20-year-old kid be the second shot creator, the second point guard. I mean, dude, Kyle Lowry's out here playing like 35 minutes a game. That cannot happen if you want to be a serious ball club. It just can't. Andre Drummond has given them quite literally nothing. Now, I don't know if I told you the story of how Andre Drummond passed me the blunt in the club when I was in Philly a couple weeks ago. That happened.
All right.
Very random. I'm just in this after hours club and I see this big dude walk by me. I'm like, yo, he looks pretty tall. My boy's like, yo, it's Andre Drummond. I'm like, oh. I'm like, doesn't he have a game in like 2 days? Why is he in the club? And then he just passed me the blunt. So I was like, that was kind of cool. He's been terrible this year. Every time he's on the court, they have to take him off. So Gershon Yabusele, who's probably been one of the more pleasant surprises of this team. If you have any positives to say about him, it's Gershon Yabusele. Now, the one game, they just kept passing the ball. He's wide open. He's got to take 11 threes. He had to. But I want him to do that. I don't want him to hesitate.
No,
the problem is he hesitate, and then he went 5 of 11. I was like, you know what? That's not ideal. But if it's going to keep happening, he can make them. And he can play, his defense, his offense is just so much more dynamic than Drummond. Drummond gives you nothing on offense. Sometimes he tries to create his own offense, and that's when time to look away from the screen because he's just going to she's going to kick it into the 15th row, right?
That's just not his game. At this point, especially at this point in his career, he should come into the game, give Embiid a break. There's the whole point of him coming here. Come in, grab some boards for it to not be like death minutes every time that Embiid has to sit down. Now, he hasn't looked great, but I still believe in him and his ability to kind of be that guy for the team. Although you are right. It seems like when he comes into the game, like teams are just picking on him. They're running him in pick and rolls, and they're just going after him. And
he's the lowest plus minus on this team by a very wide amount. Tyrese Maxey's next, but that's because Tyrese Maxey every minute he plays is with Andre Drummond. So that's pretty much why everybody's a negative. I think Jeremy Kane the other night he was a negative, and I'm like, yeah, it's probably because every minute he plays is with Andre Drummond. Like it just doesn't work. At least Yabusele on offense can shoot. He's a good pick and roller. He's a good pick and pop. He plays hard. He's a strong guy. He's not the biggest, but he's strong. You're probably going to lose the rebounding minutes that he's in, but you're going to score. And on defense, he blocks some shots, and he plays tough. He's not like Paul Reed. Paul Reed was like a 4. Yabusele's like a 4-5 hybrid. And I really want to see if they put him and Embiid next to each other when Embiid can play. That'd be interesting to see. And other than that, I mean, Oubre's kind of just been Oubre shooting 39% from the field, 25 from 3. That's it's not going to get it done. Caleb Martin has been terrible. Horrible. I don't know what the fuck happened to his jump shot.
Dude, I've been tweeting about it all season long. What happened to that? Like, he was killing us every time we played the Heat, and now he can't shoot a set jumper. If he's, like, 31%. In motion and he's, like, fading away, it looks clean. You're like, oh, like, all right, yeah. Then he goes in the corner, and it has one of the nastier hitches. Like, he needs to put some WD-40 on his elbows. I don't understand what happened there.
Yeah. Well,
why does that happen when people just decide to come here? My bad. God.
It's just, and then some of the older guys that you thought like, oh yeah, that's a decent shot. Eric Gordon. Anytime I see Eric Gordon on the court, I'm like, this is not.
Cinder blocks attached to his feet.
It's sad. It's sad. But you run minutes out there where you have a Lowry, Gordon, Martin, Yabusele, Drummond lineup, and I'm just like, this is the James Naismith is rolling around and just, uncomfortable,
doing
itching.
backflips in his grave.
He's doing circles, RIP to the Kansas legend. And he's watching this and he's like, dude, what the fuck? I'd rather see Jeff Dowtin, Ricky Council minutes over those guys. Honestly, Reggie Jackson isn't going to give you anything either, but I'd rather see him in there than Eric Gordon.
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry, unironically, has been decent. He's shooting 43% from three. That's the best on this team. And the next best is Gershon Yabusele at 41. Other than that, you're not. Jeremy McCain's at 36. And nobody's even remotely close to the NBA average of like 33, 34. So even Maxi's shooting 11 threes a game just because he has to. There's literally no choice for him to not. Somebody has to do it, right? So people are just like, here's the ball. And I don't know if it's sometimes with a bad team or a team that's depleted, it's hard to like place the correct amount of blame on a coach because you're like, well, what can they do? Well, I mean, they can do something, right? Good coaches scheme, average to mediocre talent open. Like, the one game Juwan Jennings, very different sport and, situation. I get it. But he had 11 catches, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns. The Rams always have these little white dudes that come out of nowhere and you're like, all right, McVay knows what he's doing. I just feel like Nick Nurse, some of this offense is just like, it's a handoff and then it's a pin down.
Looks no different from the Doc Rivers offense.
And then there's just not much going on. There's not much really end of game situations. I don't think there's really much communication. Who's taking the last shot? What kind of sets should we run? How are we getting guys open? The Suns game was good, and then they fucking fell apart and lost it. That's a game they should have won. A game they shouldn't have won on paper, but a game they should have won. They have. How many games do you think they have that they should have won? I would say
definitely that game.
Definitely that game and the one that we were just talking about. The Pistons game, or the Raptors game, probably should have won that.
For sure.
So, and even the Pistons, how do you lose at home? It was the home opener, right?
Yes.
Tobias Harris comes back into town. He didn't do anything. He's trying to shush the crowd. I'm like, all right, you had 18 or 14 on 18 shots. Buddy.
Well, technically, the Bucks was the home. I think they let off.
Okay, yeah, that's right. You come home and you play the Pistons, who are, they are just dog shit. And, Jaden Ivey, Tim Hardaway, I don't know if you saw him smash his head into the
that was I hope he's okay, man. He get wheelchaired off. It's the first time I've seen the wheelchair come out in a little bit.
Yeah, since Paul Pierce. So
he'd take a dump.
This team just can't shoot. They can't really score. And defensively, you can only do so much, and they're not even that good defensively. So, we're going to have to kind of rely on Paul George to do a lot. Also, this is year 1 of Paul George's 4-year contract, just so we're all clear. It's a move that we had to make, right? But we're off to a rough start.
Yeah, and what he dropped like 32 last night. Like I think he was fine. Like I think obviously it's all going to come down to Embiid. It always will, and it always has. I think physically, like when you just look at him, he looks like he's in better shape. Like he's thinner. He looked like he was moving around fine last night. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit for him to get in game shape. It always does. He's somehow is never able to get into game shape off the floor. It's always once he plays, then he's just like he was huffing and puffing midway through the first, end of the first quarter last night. So you knew you weren't going to get much from him. And obviously he's going to sit tonight. I assume he'll play Friday night in Orlando, and then they don't have a back-to-back for a little bit. So maybe you can get a little bit of a run, maybe get this team to gel together for a while. You don't have a back-to-back until the beginning of December where you play Orlando and the Hornets, and Orlando doesn't have Paolo Banchero, so they're not the same squad that they may have been, a few weeks ago.
Yeah. But the problem I have is we just put ourselves in such a hole that there's going to be a lot more games where we don't have 2 of our 3, maybe 3 of the 3, but even if it's just 1 of the 3, as long as that 1 is Embiid. But even if you have Embiid and Paul George, say, well, who's handling the ball? Neither of them really on a consistent level.
Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, Kyle Lowry with that fat butt that he's got.
He's got a big old butt, man.
Big old booty. But, you need all 3. And you also need pretty much, I don't want to say every game, but you're not in a position to give away games. The East is not that good, sure, right now. But it's going to figure itself out. And, maybe a couple games separates us from the 8 to the 5 or some shit, but
you can't fuck around, man. Like you
got to win some games somewhere.
Yeah, Yeah,
especially the easy ones. Like we have to probably beat the Magic, right? In Orlando, we should beat the Magic. The Heat are not a good team. I would love for us to pull off a win there. I don't care about home and road. I mean, you saw last night. I think the Celtics lost at home is the biggest upset of the season so far, and I think also the Trailblazers beat the shit out of the Timberwolves. So home and away doesn't really matter to me. We should beat, the Grizzlies will be, I don't know if Ja's back or if he's whatever, should beat the Nets.
Clippers.
Pistons, obviously. Yeah. Clippers is a toss up. I mean, if Norman Powell's not dropping 40.
They should beat the Pistons. They should beat the Hornets. Yeah, there's plenty of winnable games here.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. You really need to just, I don't know. I mean, people are like, "Oh, we got to make a trade." I'm like, "No, we can't. We can. What kind of trade can we make? We technically, there's only one player or two players that we can trade until the end of December. I forget why or what, but that's what I remember hearing, contracts and.
Well, yeah, when you sign a guy in free agency, you can't trade him until I believe it's midway through December.
But there's a bunch of players, that we can't even move until a certain day, and we don't even have any money. So it's we're not going to make any in-season moves unless it's at the very end of the year where we have to trade one of our guys to open up money and then acquire another veteran that probably is past it. So it's this is kind of what we have.
Yep.
The only hope, I don't say the only hope, but the best case scenario is you just keep building some of these young kids. Jared McCain kind of takes a Tyrese Maxey path. I don't know if he's going to be if he's never going to average 20, 30 points a game, but just gives you something as a role player off the bench. And then whenever the big three can play together, that's your best hope. But I don't even know, I don't know.
Let me ask you a question. Well, first, let me say a few things. I just really hope that they don't. I think KJ Martin will wind up getting traded. That'll be the guy because they kind of signed him to a balloon kind of contract so that they could maybe take on more money coming back. I really hope they don't just use Jared McCain to, like you said, trade him in some sort of deal where we get some guy who's past it, another, Eric Gordon or something like that, where it's the guy can't even move. I would like to keep him in some way, shape, or form. I think he is a valuable piece to have, even as an off guard. Let him grow into an actual point guard, which I think he could be. I think he gives you he's a good scoring. I mean, he's averaging 10 points a game, and I don't think he's even really playing all that much. He's only 17 minutes a game. He's averaging 11 and a half points, so the more he plays, the better he's going to do. I like him. I like his game, and I think that shot's going to even come in more. He's not even really shooting that well right now. I think the sky is the limit for Jared McCain. I love what I've seen, but do you, Ty, even say these guys? The thing this is what really is concerning to me. Because I can get behind the whole, if they're hurt and they can kind of, just get into the playoffs. And if everyone's healthy, then it's a different story. But I don't even know if these guys are all healthy, Ty. Do you believe in this bench? Because this team was supposed to be deep. This team was supposed to be, one of the best supporting cast that Embiid has ever had in his whole time here in Philly. We may mention a Yabusele and, maybe even a Kyle Lowry, but some of these guys that we thought were going to be the Drummonds, the Martins, we haven't even really talked about Oubre. Oubre's kind of done his thing. He's given us exactly what we could have expected from him. But Eric Gordon, do you believe in this bench, this lineup, this cast?
Well, so you'd probably ideally full healthy. Who do you start? It's probably Maxey, Oubre, PG,
Embiid.
Yabusele Embiid, or do you just put George at the four? You start McCain? I would start McCain.
I mean, I would think about it. I guess that's two tinier guards. So I mean, you're probably starting Caleb Martin. Right.
So it's gonna be Maxey, Martin, Oubre, George, Embiid with McCain, Yabusele, Drummond, Lowry off the bench. Yeah. I mean, that's there's gonna be games like last night where Yabusele he's not gonna be able to score. Right. There's gonna be games he has it, games he doesn't.
So sad that we're even having this conversation that he's a huge factor. Yeah.
So if he's not really on, well, now what? Because Andre Drummond's never on. So now you don't really have anybody behind Embiid. You're forcing Paul George to play minutes at the 4. I wouldn't even be surprised if you saw him at the 5, just because he's so tall and long.
Yeah.
You don't really have any backup bigs. You don't really have any backup guards. You have a bunch of wings, but right now none of the wings are doing wing things, right? Oubre's shooting horrible percentages. Caleb Martin has a hitch in his shot. Jared McCain is giving you much more than you'd think or hope for. And again, like you said, he's a small guard like Maxey. So if you play them together, you're probably going to get abused in the backcourt. Mitchell and Garland would probably expose that lineup. Imagine, the Celtics with Brown, Tatum, Pritchard, a bunch of big guards, Derek White. Like, I don't really know what direction. Maybe you try to get a lockdown guard defender if you want to make a move, but maybe it's more Jeff Dowtin or Ricky Council minutes. But Jeff Dowtin played last night, 22 minutes, didn't score. So
I don't want to see him play. Like I tried to get behind it last night, but I just don't see the value that he offers you. Especially like you said, he's not scoring and he's not really like a great defender.
Yeah.
It's something I guess.
Rather see Ricky Council.
I'd like to see Ricky Council. They just don't play him. I don't
also,
know.
all of his brothers are also named Ricky.
That is insane. We remember we went through that the whole family, and we were like,
where they all played.
Yeah.
Because when we saw him, I'm like, damn, that's the one from St. John's. No, it's the one from Georgetown. No, is it the one from? It's just
Nope. That's the other Ricky Council. Yeah. So I guess the jury's still out, kind of. I'm not. I have a tough time getting like all worked up about it, but I also like. As soon as somebody's like, they're fine, like they say that and they kind of poo-poo it. I'm like, wait a sec. Yeah, like I'm like,
what do you mean we're fine?
Yeah, what do you mean by that? Like I'm not buying that either. So I kind of just like it's easier for me to not care, and I can't. But
Matt, who'd be the perfect complement to this roster?
Oh, who?
Cooper Flagg. I'm just saying.
I tell you what, Ty. If things keep going left here, I know I was joking about that tank for Coop. They won't do it. But
and B would have to.
They go to 3-16.
Jesus Christ!
Shut it down, dude. Shut it down.
Yeah, there is a point. There's a line of demarcation. I don't know where it would be, but if it's anything that mirrors the 2016 season, the 2015-16 or 16-17 seasons, which is where we're at right now. We have the worst start since 2016-2017 when we were 1-9 in our first 10. If we get to a point where we're like, 4-18. I don't, there's sometimes there's not enough ground to make up. And if you're like that bad, it's like a baseball team being like, 20-50. You're like, all right, maybe we should tank for Paul Skeens, or Paul Dunn, is what they call him these days.
Oh boy.
So it's like, I don't think we'll get to that level, but I mean, at the end of games is probably when we're the worst. And if we're in close games with these teams who, a lot of these teams are better than us. So it's almost like we have to steal games. And, if Maxey's going to miss a couple more weeks, if Paul George is still going to be baby, like you kind of said, if MB, what would need to happen? MB would need something would have to happen, and anything could happen to that guy where they're like, hey, we have to reevaluate him in 2 months. It's like,
he would have to get hurt. And then I still think they'd be too good to really like tank if they wanted to, I don't think they could because you're not trading Maxey and you're not trading Paul George. So.
Yeah, like it looks like right now we're at the bottom and we're one of the worst teams, but I don't think we can we can win. I don't think we can lose more than Utah. New Orleans right now is an absolute just Zion Williamson's hurt. I mean, dude, everybody around the league is hurt. Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed. Everybody's being 2 to 3 week, 4 week injuries. I'm like, damn, like Jose Alvarado just got hurt for the Pelicans.
Yeah, Banchero's out.
Banchero's out for a while. Chet Holmgren.
Yeah,
KD.
Some hip injury I've never heard of before. I was like, oh,
everyone's getting these random injuries. You're like, what the fuck? Portland, I know they just won a game. They're 4-8, but they're bad. Yeah. Washington and Toronto. I mean, Toronto the other day, I think Scotty Barnes and all them didn't play, and they were just Grady Dick has been really good for them. Shout out to Kansas, but they're bad.
Yeah,
I really think Charlotte's pretty bad. And Milwaukee, I mean, they're not that bad, but they're hanging around with us too at 3-8. So I don't know if we can really get into that discussion. Then it becomes like, oh, should we take Ace Bailey or I'm like,
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I don't even want to think about any of that, but
it's kind
of it always is a fun conversation to have, though. To be honest,
yeah, why not? Right? Cooper Flagg looks like a sick player. You have Cooper Flagg next to Embiid anyway.
Start looking through. Hey, if we had Coop,
hey, Coop, I'm actually Coop pick and roll, dude.
Yeah, well, that would be the guy you'd need. Yeah, put Coop next to him. There's too many bucket getters on this team, man. It'd be.
I understand that
Yabusele, build the team around Yabusele, Gershon. Why not?
Sele.
Oh boy.
But I understand Cooper Flagg is the perfect fit for any team, but he really is for us.
So that's pretty much all I got on that. I don't want to beat that to death. But how about the the old hot stove. We'll move that. Let's
The stove.
Let's slowly move this over with a horrible segue that I have nothing. The hot stove is
Travis DiArno signed.
Yeah, he did. Exactly. Everyone's always losing their mind.
The Trop is in pieces.
Yeah, what's up with that, dude? They're not going to be able to play home this year, are they? Well, no. I mean, the answer to that is no.
They won't be able to play home ever.
Yeah, they're going to have to knock that stadium down.
They don't have a home. The Tampa Bay Rays are the first sports franchise to literally be homeless. It's a homeless team, like forever. So they're going to build a new stadium. Apparently, it's supposed to be ready by 2027. They start in 2026, and they're like, "Well, $50 million can repair the Trop, but not for this year." I'm like, "Oh, so you want to somehow randomly find $55 million for a team that's quite literally bankrupt, has less money than I do? You want to find $55 million, and then they won't even be able to play this year." So the Tampa Bay Rays are they're going through it. They still haven't recouped that money from Wander Franco. Not sure if they ever will. He's putting out videos. He's like, "Who wants to sign me?" It's like, bro, what? Nobody.
Yeah, brother.
Maybe that Mexican league, but Jesus Christ.
You need to go hang out with the cartels. That's the only safe haven you're going to have these days, dude. You're wanted in almost every country that you've existed.
Sergeant Gunrunner Franco. You're like, wait, what? I thought he was a shortstop. So, yeah, the Trop is a mess. The Rays are a mess. I think they should definitely play where the Tampa Bay Rowdies, which is a independent soccer team, plays because it's right on the water. I don't know what the fuck. They should just play in the Trop as it is.
Yeah, why not? Just knock the roof down, and then just play on the nasty,
no ceilings,
on that nasty, turf or whatever the fuck the concrete carpet that they have going on in there. Ty, the rumor around here in Philadelphia is that Alec Bohm is on the trade block. That has been, I guess the winter meetings are happening now, and that is the most recent thing. I believe Jeff Passan or somebody put that out recently. I don't have the exact tweet, but Now,
does that have anything to do with Aaron Kate Dolan betting the under on Alec Bohm home runs every game? Do you think there's something connected on that?
There might be. I mean, she is a degen, so it could have some sort of lasting effect. But Ty, the person that they want to replace Alec Bohm with, I don't know what the Alec Bohm trade would be or look like if they would get prospects back, which would probably be. Yeah. The way that they would go, because I don't think that they're going to put some sort of package together. The other guy they're also linked to, Garrett Crochet, is apparently they wanted him at the deadline. Now maybe they could use an Alec Bohm and throw some other prospects in there to maybe get him. I don't know if the White Sox would be interested in that. Who knows what they're actually interested in? I mean,
they're run so poorly.
Garbage organization that they have over there.
Just keep our good players and let's replace the bad players with worse players.
Yes,
that's okay. That's not how that works.
Yeah,
and then the good players get ruined, and you're like, well, we can't trade them.
Well, obviously Bryce Harper also wins Silver Slugger. I did want to mention that, but
let's go.
I don't. I mean, I want Alec Bohm gone. I think he acted like a fucking baby this past postseason. He gets benched, and then they ask him.
Not that good.
No, I don't. Again, we have talked about it on here 1,000 million times. You can go back and listen to any Phillies pod we've had. I just think how I would build my team. First base, you have a power hitter, Bryce Harper. That's already set. Third base, I think, is also a power position, Ty, and Alec Bohm has just never grown into that power sort of hitting, not maybe just a slugger, but, he could also hit maybe 25, 30 home runs and then hit 280. That would be fine, or maybe even 20 home runs. I'll take that. But it always seems like something goes wrong or he's just not able to – I just never think he's also 27, 28 now. He's not like a young kid anymore that we're like, oh, maybe he's going to grow into this guy or that guy.
He's probably not going to age that well, right? So eventually he's not going to be playing.
He's not a great fielder, what are we really holding on to? What are we waiting for? That's what I guess I struggle with, and I don't understand.
Before I interrupt you again, what did he say when they asked him? Where were you going with that?
Oh no, so they asked him basically, do you need to change your approach? And he's like, I am who I am, kind of mentality, where I'm going up there, and I think he saw after I think there was stat is since this was a long time ago, but. 6 pitches and 4 at-bats after he was benched. I mean, he just went up there. He gets benched. He comes into, I believe that's game 3 or game 2 that they really needed to win. He comes in after they switch pitchers, and he comes in, and I think it's first and second, or maybe even the bases are loaded. He pops up on the first pitch, a pitch around his neck that he just sky highs it up into the air, and you're like, this guy just he doesn't get it, man. I don't think he'll ever get it. I don't think he understands what it like what we need from him, what his role is here. He had one hit in all the playoffs. It was just pop up line drive, ground ball, and the one hit was a double out, or was supposed to be a double out to right field, where he gets tossed at second base because he has bricks in his shoes. He's not even fast, so it's that's really the problem here. I think he hit 15 home runs this season in 143 games played, 554 at bats. Yeah, that has really just never been. That's just not him, man. I don't know. I'm looking at his career stats right here. The most he's hit was last year. He hit 20 home runs in 145 games, 558 at-bats, 13, 20, and 15 in all of the seasons that he's played majority of the games. 2021, he played 115, and he only hit 7 home runs. That's not good enough, Ty. It's really not.
Yeah.
And in the playoffs throughout his career, which has been, the last 3 seasons, he's a combined 214 hitter. So obviously, I don't know if mentally he has it to play in the playoffs. You see guys like Castellanos who they could be ass all year, and then the playoffs come around and they give you something. At least this past year, Castellanos was good all year, and then he was one of the only guys that really hit in the playoffs for you. Trey Turner might be another guy that doesn't really have it for the playoffs, but they don't really have a choice. With Bohm, you're going to have to pay him in a couple years. I think you're better off getting something for him now, and then maybe signing, which apparently the other rumor that I was going to get into is the guy who they would replace him with is Alec Bregman. So, Alex Bregman, I should say. I've got my Alec and Alex's confused. But Alex Bregman would be the guy that they would bring in here right after him, who I don't necessarily know if I'm not like, oh my God, like that's going to change the world. But Alex Bregman's a better player than Alec Bohm. So that is a positive. He's only hitting 260, but he's hitting 26 home runs, 75 RBIs. He doesn't strike out a lot, which that would be, I think, a positive. But I also think that the
playoff experience.
I think the home runs would probably.
He'd hit a lot more, I think. Well, I know they have a short portion left, but he isn't just a pull hitter. He kind of hits it all over the place. So. Also, there's been talks about him possibly moving to second base from third base. So, I guess I don't know if he really wants to or cares, but it could be like some position versatility for the Phillies if they were to sign Alex Bregman. He's 30, so you don't want to give him like 5 years. He's also a bit undersized, so you feel like he might break down at like 34, 33, 35, something like that. So give him like 3 years, $90 million, maybe. Maybe not 90, but he can still hit for sure. His on base percentage skyrocketed down last year from the 360, 350 range to 313. So that's kind of interesting that he's not walking as much. But like you said, doesn't strike out. I think he's a relatively good fielder. He's going to be around 260, hits home runs, has playoff experience, can give you another what you hope to be a dependable bat alongside the others. But, maybe Willie Adames. I know he's a shortstop. He said he's been willing to move the third if the Phillies blow him away with a contract. But I think he's probably set to stay in Milwaukee or go to LA, or New York. I think the Mets really want to put him at third and put Mark Vientos at first because Pete Alonso, Fat Pete, is probably gone. So we'll see. I mean, the Phillies are going to be battling a lot of teams, even in the division and in the NL, that are going to be trying to. It's like an arms race. The Dodgers are trying to get better every year. Yep. No matter how good and how stacked they are, they're going to try to keep building super teams, and everyone can keep getting mad about that. And I understand, but your team can spend money too,
Yeah.
Look at the Mets. Steve Cohen is just like that. When he first took over, he's like, "Yeah, I'm just going to buy teams. Just going to buy players." And it really hasn't. It hasn't worked yet. But he's trying to steal Juan Soto. That would be a big move for them. They're trying to go out. They're going big game hunting, and I think the Phillies kind of have to as well. And the Braves are going to be motivated.
Yeah. No, some of the contracts here that I've seen for the projection, that's one of the reasons for a little bit of hesitancy from me is like I saw 7 years, $189 million projection for Alex Bregman, $165 million over 6. Like, hey, there's a lot of money getting thrown around here for some of the predictions here. 6 for 180, 6 for 172, 5 for 125 with an opt out. Which I would do that 5 year for 125. I would do I see one here that says 5 years, 130 with a $26 million club option for 2030. Like, that's something more. Like, 5 years would probably be my cap for him, where I would want to, get away from anything related to that. I think that he would have to play third, though, I would assume, because I don't know. I mean, Stott's kind of entrenched at second. He's a Gold Glover. You can't move him to short unless, like, where would you do with Trey? Could Trey play third? I don't know
Probably
where.
not.
Yeah, like
Put him in center.
I would love to put him in center. I really would. That would be my ideal. He thinks he's a shortstop for life. I don't think that's going to be the case. I would move Stott over to short, and then you could move a Bregman there, and then you would still have an open spot there at third base. But I think just getting Bregman in there and getting Alec Bohm maybe out of the lineup. Not necessarily like you have to get Alec Bohm out of there, but I think that is a positive thing. And I think getting a starter, getting a Garrett Crochet, I don't know if they're going to be in on any of these other free agent starters that are going to be out there, the Corbin Burns and names like that, which I doubt they will be. But I think if you maybe miss out on a guy like an Alex Bregman, maybe go out there and get somebody like that and just shore up your starting pitching, because I hear people say, well, that's not what held them back, and it's like, well, you could keep getting bad after bad after bad. These guys need to perform. You're gonna need, and also there's always something with the starters where something goes wrong. You get a Ranger Suarez who has nothing left by the time the end of the season rolls around, or you're gonna have to deal with Aaron Nola serving up a home run here or there. The Phillies are in a weird spot because it doesn't look like, obviously the pie in the sky ideal world would have them getting Juan Soto, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen. It seems
It's a tough battle. I mean, I don't know if they're going to throw $700 million or whatever the figure is. If they're ready to spend that.
Yeah, because what he set up meetings with like 4 teams, I think. And it's Scott Boras, so it's you're fighting in a ridiculous war against people who probably don't even exist, and he's trying to create this sort of market that may not even be there, which for Soto it will be. I'm in the past, guys like Jake Arrieta, where he's kind of run their value into the ground, and last year he kind of got his guys not paid. But Juan Soto, I think it's like the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, obviously both New York teams. Yes. I don't know who he has set up meetings with, though. I thought I saw something that he was meeting with certain teams. Do you think the Dodgers would they throw their hat in the race there? I don't think he would actually go after him. I heard he wants to stay on the East Coast.
Yeah, I think New York he's staying, regardless if it's Yankees or Mets. But I think Yankees, he's definitely. I just think he likes what they have. They have something good, him and Judge and whatnot, and obviously he's a perfect fit. He's Dominican, boom, right in the Bronx. He's already a fan favorite. I think he's going to stay there. I think he should stay there. I mean, they'd probably give him the best chance to win. Out of all, I mean, the Dodgers could go after him if they lose Teoscar, but who knows if that even happens. Teoscar's probably going to, demand a lot of money, so maybe the Dodgers shift their attention to Willie Adames, or Corbin Burns, or just another high leverage reliever. I'm not sure. I mean, sign everybody. That's do like what I do in MLB The Show when there's a big free agent. Sign them.
Just give him the contract.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like the Phils are in on him at the moment. I would love to maybe float a contract out there. Middleton sold some of his shares on the team to kind of gain more capital that he could maybe go and get a big, or maybe spend some money this offseason. Because I think if they stand pat and kind of just bring the same team back, I really, it's going to be hard for me to get up for another season of the same crew, who came up short the last 2 years. And not only came up short in dramatic fashion, melting down against the Diamondbacks, completely no-showing against the Mets. I don't know, unless, you have to, I'm not saying trade everybody and, restart the whole roster and, rehaul it and, I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying there needs to be some sort of change for me to maybe get behind this. And there's going to be some guys maybe in that bullpen, Jeff Hoffman's going to get paid. I don't think he'll be, I don't know if he'll be back. I would like to see him back. I know a lot of Phillies fans have kind of soured on him after what happened in that Game 4, but he was great for you all season long. Carlos Estevez, I don't think he's going to be worth the money that he's going to get paid. So I'm not necessarily in love with that. I would love Juan Soto to stay in the Bronx, not head over to the Queens, and really just kind of torture us for the next decade plus. But it is what it is. The Mets are they're going to have a little bit of roster overhaul with Pete Alonso's probably not going to be back, and some of those starters you're not going to get what you got. I mean, I feel like this year was like a magical Mets year. That it's going to be hard to kind of replicate that for years to come. They really kind of just caught lightning in a bottle, similar to the Phillies, the way they caught lightning in a bottle in 2022 and kind of just went on a run. It's baseball's weird. It's very weird. As a Dodgers fan, you guys have on paper the best team pretty much every year for like the past decade, and you've only had you've won 2 World Series, which that's a success. That's a positive. But I'm sure you think back and you're like, man, we should have won this year, man. How did we lose this year?
So many.
How can things go? You run into a Padres team that just gets hot and they fucking they break your heart. This past year could have gone left too because you got your backs against the wall and they it's just baseball's weird. You have to kind of get lucky. I understand that part, but it's been 2 years in a row where the Phillies have just kind of run into the same problem where the lineup, all of them really just give you nothing at the end of the season, and there's no change in thought process. They just go up there, they hack away, they stay aggressive, they do the same thing every single time up to bat, every single year, and they wonder why we are losing. And then they say, oh, the chase rate wasn't that bad. Look at the Mets, look at the Yankees. It's like, no, guys, I watch the games. I watched all these other teams kind of work count sometimes and, get on base. I watched the Dodgers beat the Mets by just basically taking pitches. And then when guys were on base, they timely hits from guys like Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, guys who are like solidified, Hall of Fame, great players, all-time great players. And we have guys like a Bryce Harper and things like, we have great players here in Philadelphia that if they just were able to hone some of their skills into maybe instead of me trying to hit one on the Broad Street right here, maybe I should just, get this ball in the air and we could score a quick run here and we could maybe, pass the bat here. Or maybe I should take this, 3-0 pitch in the dirt instead of trying to swing out of my shoes. And I'm not just picking on Bryce Harper. It's all of them. But, anything in conclusion to that? Yeah, no, I kind of sucked the air out of the room there. But listen, that's how it is. Ty, Flyers, your boy Tortorella's been sitting Mitchkov. He came back. He had a big game recently. Flyers are way worse than I thought they were going to be. So it's hard for me to kind of really have a big, long Flyers point. But, we were doing fantasy hockey this year, so I am a little bit more invested in the hockey in general. But the Flyers got the Senators tomorrow. Flyers probably aren't going to make the playoffs. Well, who cares?
I have the worst fantasy hockey team probably ever assembled. So, let's look at total points. I believe I'm last. Oh, yeah. No, I'm not last. Shout out to Nelson. Sitting in last place in points scored. I love that. I am 0-4. I set my lineup every day, and I'm 0-4. So
it's tough.
I don't know what that says about me as a hockey ball puck knower. Probably very little, clearly. But also, Connor Bedard, dude, what a bust. Hasn't done shit for me this year. I'm pretty upset about that. 3 goals.
I wanted him too.
So, and I reached for him. At least Kucherov. Kucherov's doing well. But Flyers and Blackhawks kind of in the same boat, 6-8, 6-9. Just, they'll win some games. You're like, wow, 5 goals against the Rangers or something like that. And then they lose 6-0 to the Blue Jackets or something like that.
They've kind of turned it around, though. I'm really realizing that the Flyers have won a few games here. They're only a few points out of a playoff spot.
Everybody's kind of jumbled. Nobody has less than 12 points. It's Nashville, Anaheim, and Columbus, and Montreal. And then at 13, 14, you have the Flyers, the Penguins are crashing out bad. The Blackhawks, San Jose's playing pretty well lately. So, it looks pretty even. Looks like there's some parity around the league so far. Nobody's really that bad, and nobody's really that good. I know the Devils are at the top of the Metro, but Carolina's playing well. Washington, the Rangers were playing well, and they ran into the Jets, who were just, Winnipeg, 15-1. 15-1, and then who else? I don't think anybody's really near them. Even the Panthers at 11-4. Winnipeg Jets, 15-1, Minnesota 10-2. So, both, of course, in the Central. So the Blackhawks, season's over. It's over. What can you say?
It's all right.
tank for who's going first in this next draft? Let's see. Hold on. 2025 NHL mock. Probably somebody I've never heard of, but let's tank for him.
Why
See what
not?
his name is. James Higgins. Yep, I like him.
So that's basically all I got for hockey. I don't want to sit here and waste anyone's time all that much. But Ty, something that I know hurt your heart this past week. Your LSU Tigers took a pounding at the hands of Kellen DeBoer and the boys. What do you have to say for yourself? Brian Kelly and his family really let you down. They, 30 was the final score was 34-6. That was when I stopped watching. I decided.
I believe 43-13.
Oh boy.
Let's see if that was the final. Correct. Yeah. I mean, I stopped caring. 42-13. Yeah. Jalen Milroe. He has 8 rushing touchdowns in the last 2 games against LSU. What else did what were you preparing for? You're preparing for Jam Miller and Justice Haynes. They weren't going to do much on the ground. You're going to prepare for Jalen Milroe to throw the ball? No. So what were we doing in the 2 weeks that we had off? This game could have put us in the driver's seat for a CFP spot. Not that I think we deserve it. This team stinks. I mean, there's a clip of number 8, not even going to say his name, just not trying to tackle Jalen Milroe, and he just goes to the house, and he's just like, oh, yeah, there it goes. He's supposed to be a safety that hits hard. Absolute soft pussy. Whole team. I mean, dude, it started with Jeff Landry. What is he? Is he the governor, Jeff Landry? Hold on.
I think so.
I don't know if he's the governor of Louisiana, who I believe is a University of Louisiana Lafayette grad, right? So he's not truly an LSU guy. He's a ULL guy. He thinks that the team of the state is ULL, the fucking Raging Cajuns. Give me a break. But he brings in Omar the Tiger. No, not Mike the Tiger, who is right there on campus. He brings in Omar Bradley is his name. He has a full name. Yeah.
The Tiger?
The Tiger, Omar Bradley. He brings him in from the state of Florida.
Okay.
Like, you had a Tiger right on your campus. You want to bring one in from Florida. Just to appease fans, like, hey, we're going to have a live Tiger. And so all the animals rights organizations that are mad at me, I don't care because I'm bringing a live Tiger back to Tiger Stadium. Everyone's like, he wants everybody to be like, thank you so much. But he didn't bring Mike. Who's Omar? Who's Omar?
Honestly,
Omar's
it seems like coming. like a double agent sort of thing, or like the Trojan horse sort of thing. Yeah, like he kind of wants the Tigers to fail because he's got that little brother syndrome.
Threatening to pull money funding from the football team. It's like, bro, that is not how you get the state behind you. Football is all that these people care about in this goddamn
they don't care about the Raging Cajuns
shitville of Louisiana. No, nobody cares about Tulane or Louisiana Tech and Ruston or any of these teams. So Jeff Landry, take Omar back to Florida.
Ty's about to go buy a home in Louisiana so he can vote against this guy. Get him out.
Yeah, I'm voting against him. Fuck him. But, LSU season's over. So
yeah, it is what it is. The bracket came out, Ty. You got 1, 2, 3, and 4 being Oregon, Texas, BYU, and Miami. That's off the bracket seeding, not their necessary ranking. The top 4 seeds are all conference, supposedly conference winners. Notre Dame still in there, baby, matching up against Tennessee. In this projection, would head to Neyland Stadium for a road game to start off the playoff. I don't think if Notre Dame wins the rest of their games, I think they will host a game because I think Tennessee plays Georgia still. Georgia getting pounded by Ole Miss. Ole Miss would play Penn State. Alabama would play Indiana. Ohio State would play Boise State, which I really cannot wait for these playoffs this year. I think it's going to be awesome. We're going to have so many games in that weekend in December. We're going to get to see some incredible college football action. It's I cannot wait. I'm giddy just thinking about it. It's going to be a great weekend, week plus. Multiple weeks of football. We get 4 rounds of playoff football now, 12 teams playoff. It's going to be awesome. I feel bad for people who aren't college football fans. Loved seeing Miami lose this week to Georgia Tech. That was embarrassing, and they somehow are still going to win the ACC and get a bye into the next round. That's, whatever. Would love to see Notre Dame move into the ACC and just run roughshod over that thing because that's going to be embarrassing. Oregon going to win the Big Ten in their first season in it. Oregon, Dan Lanning's got a juggernaut on his hands over there. And Texas, I think we all know, are kind of fraudulent after the way they got dog walked by Georgia. How would you see the guy from Georgia celebrating with the Ole Miss fans? And Kirby Smart was like, "I have no time for fucking foolishness like this." Like,
I would kick Jake Pope off the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
As soon as that happened, I would kill him.
No, you got to go. You can't be on. You can't accept that. You can't be okay with that. He's got to go. But
that's wild. I think Notre Dame should be expelled and banned from the CFP this year for losing to NIU.
Okay.
NIU's not even 500 in the MAC.
Okay.
So if Notre Dame wants to find a conference, put them in the MAC and see if they can win a game.
One bad week, does not make
at home
team. Nelson was there. He was.
Man, that's just
tough break for that guy. But no, I understand people who say that, but then Miami should be expelled as well because we destroyed Georgia Tech and they just lost to them. I think Miami's some of the bigger frauds in this whole thing. I think Penn State's frauds too.
Is somehow undefeated. That shouldn't be a thing.
BYU just almost lost to Utah. I think Coach Prime and the boys might get in there.
They might sneak in there.
They might.
They don't really.
They just got to beat BYU, and they'll in that conference championship. That's kind of the cool thing about this.
Got to win in Kansas. It's gonna be tough. You don't walk into Kansas in the James Booth Memorial Stadium and just win. Actually, that game's at Arrowhead, so you don't win in the game. You don't walk into Gayhow Field at Arrowhead Stadium unless you're the Eagles and win a game.
Yeah. How about it, baby? How about it? I think we used all of our bullets today, Ty.
Who's your Heisman? I guess. Travis Hunter?
Yeah, or Ashton.
Maybe?
I would pick Ashton. I know it's kind of
his numbers are insane.
Yeah, that's what I would go off of. I mean, especially if they make the playoff, I don't think you can. I mean, he's basically carrying them to the playoff, so it would be like, why not? Cam Ward, I think, he had one, not even really a bad game. They just lost. I think it should be Cam Ward, but that's it's kind of still up in the air. If I had to pick one today, I probably would pick Cam Ward. I think his stats, and I think he's led them to this far, and it's not his fault that their defense is trash, and they've had to score like 50, 60 points. They haven't really played anyone, but I don't really fault teams for that. As a Notre Dame fan, I can't really get too upset at the teams for not playing people. So there's that, Ty. That's been the Hot Take Hot Box. We are back. Podcast brought to you by I don't have an advertiser, but that could be your name right there. It could have been your name throughout the whole thing, ladies and gentlemen. Dude Wipes,
Dude Wipes, wipe dudes,
and all the companies that now sell dick pills all the time. That could be
Blue Chew,
Hims. I see it all the time, dude. I'm like,
it's like, what are we doing, dude?
Are people's meats struggling this much? Yeah, like, what's going on here? But why not?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Hot Take Hot Box. My name is Matt McSweeney. Tune in next time for some more dick pill conversation. His name is
Ty Capone.
And as always, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure enjoy the Christmas season as it comes upon you. Enjoy time with friends and family, and have some fun.